and welcome to the development of Beyond the Darkness. We posted some pictures, well, at least one picture on Facebook, and it did raise some questions for some of you. And that's, of course, understandable. So let me get one thing out of the way. Let me answer to one comment to begin with. No, it's not going to be a placeholder, but it's also not going to be in the final game. But it is very important for the development of this project. So, what exactly did you guys see on that picture? Well, what you actually saw on that picture is Michael.
Hey.
Hey. I kind of wanted to say that Michael looks different, but yeah, I guess this is the first time you guys see Michael, so let's just move, go on with it. Let's just roll with it. This is actually a little ghost model we call Andy. It means spirit in Icelandic. It has nothing to do with anything, but we thought it was fun. But anything else than that, it's also very important for us, because now Michael and I are in the same room.
Yes,
we are walking in the same level, so it's kind of a multiplayer, but it isn't really a multiplayer.
No, we implemented a network environment. So this is just basically for us. There are two things. We want to make the vlogs more interesting, so now you can actually see where we're both looking at and heading at. And also it's for testing purposes, so we can both look around the levels and see what's wrong or what could improve. But in this network environment, you can see me move around and walk around, and that is spot on, but the rotation might be a little bit delayed and a bit off. And it is something you can tweak in the settings, but it's going to take so much time, and we don't want to go through that, because there won't be any multiplayer in the actual game. It's still going to be a single player experience.
Yes.
Some interactions do work and others don't. So for example, this curio here, when I click on it, it opens on my screen, but it doesn't do anything to yours.
No.
No, and that's because everything is client-sided. We can make that interactive if we make an invisible box in front of it, and then make it a trigger, so then when the player touches it, then that curio could open, for instance. So there are some triggers that we could test in the game and see how everything goes.
Michael.
Oh no.
No, God. I have to model a new face. Oh, you know it's not just copy paste work. Like,
I know.
Magic. Let's just shove the parts onto the table. It's fine. I just hope Nathan won't see it. He doesn't have to know.
No.
Well, okay. So, as Michael was explaining, yes, we can walk through the level and look at things and go like, this plant is pretty cool, but it needs a little bit more lightning, or maybe we can put a really scary moment in this flower pot or something. Things like that. But we did not show you guys this whole thing just to show you what things Michael can interact with and which things Michael can break. Yes, but let's follow Michael into the next room, and as we do that, you guys might notice some lightning glitches, but that's because the multiplayer kind of messes up the graphics a little bit in multiplayer, but it's not gonna look like this in the real game.
No, exactly. The graphics here are a bit downscaled because of the network.
Yeah, and that messes some things up, but...
Yeah, especially the light.
Yeah, exactly.
It's bad.
But it's fine.
Yes.
So, yeah, just don't worry about it. The actual game will look much better. So, let's start with this one. And I know this looks like just an empty room. It looks like a room, but imagine this is not just a room, but everything we tell you guys will go for the entire level. Just imagine this is the beginning of a level. And what we're going to start with is pretty much a gray mesh that we can walk around in. So we can walk around in this place and see if the space is the way we expect it to be. Like, is the ceiling maybe too low? Or Is the room too big or maybe too small? Maybe we need more space to put all the puzzle elements or the models in. Things like that.
Yes, and also the basic colliders. Because if you drag this model into the engine and we drag the player in it and we press play, the player will fall through the level.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It's a little bit like when you mess around in a game and you move into places where you don't belong, and at one point you either fall through the world or you fall out of the level. And that's because there are no colliders in that space, in that place, specific spot of the game, because that's not where you're supposed to go. And that works with this game as well. On default, nothing will have a collider, so we have to create those and walk around and test if everything still works fine. But then the next stage will happen. If you look to this little scale model, we put in some models, but those models are very basic. They're pretty much blocks or just very rough modeled shapes. And that's because we want to see how the room, what the level looks like with the most important models in there. Like, what is the room that's left to move around in? Is that still sufficient? Is that still good enough? Like, is there enough space between the desk and the table? Maybe we need to move around things. And this is also where Michael and I have tested a lot of things.
Yes, if you look at our oldest videos, you can see that it actually does look just like this. And that's because we were new to the game and new to the engine, and we wanted to test things. So that's where we tested opening doors, closing doors, physics, just basic interactions, really.
Yes. So interaction and testing is very important in this stage. And graphics and sound and those atmospheric things are not important at all this early in the development.
That's right.
But they will come. So if we move to the next stage, it's kind of the same, but everything will have a little bit of a color. But this is also the stage where we decide the locations of the items. But we also decide, like, let's put a trigger here, and this is where most of the ideas will get, where the triggers will be. And I'm sorry, I was a little bit distracted because Michael was not really paying attention, but the rotation of the model will catch up in a few seconds.
Yeah.
He was really looking like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I heard this.
That's me a role.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So,
like all the viewers.
Yeah, probably all the viewers who just minimize the screen and go like, yeah, whatever, dude. It's fine. We understand that. So we're gonna tell you that we're gonna move to the next stage, and this one is getting a little bit more interesting visual-wise, because visuals are slowly getting important. Oh, Yessie is now in the recording. Great. Well, that doesn't matter. Okay, so this is the stage where we're gonna put high polygon details models in the level, and everything will get some textures, and everything will finally everything is gonna look a little bit more like the way it's supposed to be. But this is also the stage where animations are gonna be tested. For example, I would put some animations on the clock or on the closet for the doors. And then Michael is gonna make sure that we can test this by pressing a few buttons 1, 2, 3, 4 on the keyboard. So we can see if everything fits in. This is a very important stage to test out the interaction and the animation part.
Yes, exactly. But we're not really working on the interactions of this part. It's more like we apply the animations to the models and see if that works.
It's a little bit like preparing for the interaction.
Yes, like the basic setup.
Yeah, exactly. Because that is actually going to happen in the next stage. And in this stage, a lot of things are happening. Also on a visual point of view, because as you can see, the window now has a light from the outside. The clock has an animation. Everything looks a little bit different. I put some details into the lights on the wall, but that didn't really survive the multiplayer glitches. So yeah, my apologies for that, but that's fine. There will still be a lot of things we need to do here, like graphical glitches, maybe interaction glitches. But here is also the part where everything we tested in the last stage will now be used to make the interactions and the puzzles and that kind of things.
Yeah, you can see that the clock on the left works now. It has that playable animation.
Yes.
And this is also the stage where I write the code, so the player can actually open the clock. There's a glass door, and the player can click on it, and then the door will open or close. And it's the same with the drawers and the other interactions that we can test here.
Yeah, exactly, like the secret hatches or anything that you can interact with.
The little box.
Yes. So from here there is only one stage left, and that looks kind of the same, but it really isn't. Because yes, the only difference in this room is pretty much the little details. For example, the particles you see on the window. But behind the curtains there is a lot of things going on here, because this is, for example, fine-tuning of the graphics. This is fine-tuning of the puzzles, the interaction, the controls, bug fixes, that kind of stuff. But this will also be the very final stage for the graphics. Things like light baking and those kind of things, like real-time rendering effects. We cannot really do that when things are still moving around, when we haven't decided that this closet will 100% sure stay in that spot and the clock will 100% sure stay in that spot. When we know everything is gonna look like this, then we're gonna put on the final layer of graphics, and anything you have seen so far has not reached this stage yet because it's too early. And of course, maybe some of you guys are missing sound design, but sound design is also going to be actually in this stage. We're gonna walk around in the levels, and maybe in the previous stage is gonna say like, you know what, this clock and this window, this needs some sounds, but the actual finalizing of that will be in the last stage.
Yeah, and this stage is something that takes a lot of time, because the testing and debugging especially, you run into so many weird glitches and bugs later on. For example, we've been running into the first level for months, and all of a sudden we found a bug where you could jump through a wall and be in the hallway. And so as soon as we saw that, we had to fix that.
Yeah.
And even if you fix things can break again.
Yes. Yeah, that's because it's still a game engine, and it, you know, the creators of the Unity engine or the Unreal engine or whatever engine you use, of course those people do their very best to keep everything working as good as possible. But once you build things, it's gonna turn into this whole, you know, web, this whole ball of yarn that contains it contains models and textures and shaders and lighting and scripts and colliders and physics, and at one point when you're going to change something, it's going to influence something else, and it's going to probably break something else. So yeah, it's always a challenge to get as many bugs out of the game as you can. But
yes, exactly.
Yeah, you know, gameplay wise, this is very important, because every bug that will remain in the game when you release it, it's gonna do some damage for you, for your game as a name. It's gonna do some damage for the player as an experience, and that also goes for the graphics, of course. This is the screenshots. The final screenshots will decide if you guys are gonna buy the game or not, if it looks interesting to you or not. And I know our game is not gonna look the same as, you know, the state of the art super ultra realistic horror games, but we're gonna try to mix in some other elements that might, get you guys interested as well. So those are the stages of the level development we're gonna follow, and I think most of the levels, I don't know, I think most of them are either in, level 1 is in this stage.
Yes, level 1 is in this one.
That's pretty far, but level 2 is still debatable.
There's more to this. Yeah, I think it's a mix of this one. It's partly this, and the other side is it's this one.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. And then we have level 3, which is basically stage 2. Yeah, that's. And I think level 4 is really hard to describe because it's not the same as the other levels. We're not going to spoil anything about that, but it's some things have to be developed a little bit more than other things, and level 4 is a little bit a mix of that.
Yes, I think you mean level 5, because level 4 we haven't created yet.
Oh, level 4, is that true? Oh yeah, then it's level 5. Okay.
Yeah. 5 is very different indeed.
Yeah, it is, and I think that's as far as we are at the moment, but our goal is pretty much to get all levels at least into stage 3.
Yes.
And that's because in this stage we can also do a lot of important things, like deciding where the triggers are going to be, deciding where very important story elements are going to be, so we can spread out that story over all the levels, and everything will be, the experience will be equal. At least the fun factor is going to be equal in all levels.
Yes, that's true. And it's not exactly going to look like this, because all the models that are finished, they will have their actual graphics.
Yeah, exactly. So we can reuse some models we have for some parts, and it's going to be a mixture, of course. So I think this is the most important part we wanted to show you guys, and of course, as soon as we have other great things to show you, we will release it in a new video, and small things we will post on the Facebook page. So keep an eye on the Facebook page, and for now we both want to thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next video.
Yes, thank you for watching, and see you later.
Alright. Oh, we still have to clean up that face.
Oh no.
That's just we'll see. It's fine. We'll fix something. We can make a face out of rubber or something.
Yeah.